It is time for the Nebraska Dairy Update. I'm Chad Moyer. Today we get to talk with the new CEO of Midwest Dairy. Her name is Corey Scott. She joins us and to learn a little bit more about her and what she's going to be doing with Midwest Dairy moving forward. Corey, thanks for visiting with us here today. First of all, let us get to know you a little bit. Tell us about you and your background.
Thanks, Chad. Yeah, so I live in Minnesota. I'm just north of the Twin Cities, but my background takes me all the way back to a couple of the states in the Midwest Dairy region. I went to high school in South Dakota, and I grew up all the way out on the East Coast in Massachusetts. So I have a little bit of a dynamic geographic background. I went to school at the University of Minnesota. For my undergrad, I went to Crookston campus. So we're talking about the Golden Eagles here, not the Gophers. And then for grad school, I did go to the Twin Cities campus. Prior to joining Midwest Dairy, I spent 15 years in food and beverage, primarily with Land O'Lakes. Land O'Lakes is a co-op here in Minnesota, a dairy co-op that is owned by just over 1,000 dairy farmers. And I had the unique opportunity to hold a number of roles with them before joining Midwest Dairy.
Yeah. So I guess tell me, it sounds like you've long had an association with dairy farmers and dairy companies, right? What do you like about that business? I mean, working for Land O'Lakes Cooperative or dairy farmers in general, what did you enjoy about that?
Well, I got my first exposure to dairy farmers from behind the wheel of a semi. I worked for an agronomy co-op in South Dakota before moving to Minnesota, and I learned very quickly that dairy in particular, and agriculture as a general whole, has some of the best people you will find. I don't know of anybody else that gets up every single morning to take care of others before taking care of themselves. And they are the most hardworking, and I would say they persevere more than most. So working for such an incredible group of people is an easy way to justify having this career. And I mean, let's be real. Who doesn't love butter and ice cream?
Absolutely. You are so correct. How did you get connected with Midwest Dairy? I mean, obviously, you probably knew about them. You worked with them before. But how did you get connected with this CEO job?
You know, I had a general awareness of dairy checkoff as a whole from my time at Land O'Lakes. When I found the role or saw that the role was posted, I was working for a startup in the sustainability ag tech space. And someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, did you see this posted? This would be a really good job for you." And I sent back, "You're absolutely bananas." But when I read the role deeper, it really does have this perfect marriage between my business acumen and my knowledge of on-farm dairy practices and the threads of dairy that I've had through the course of my career. And it's all topped off with the privilege of representing dairy farmers and working to increase consumption and build trust in dairy with consumers. So it's kind of this perfect marriage of all my skills and the things that excite me.
Sure. So, Corey, obviously haven't been on the job very long, but what are your goals, especially here within the first year? You know, you talked about meeting staff and understanding programming and things like that, but what do you want to accomplish here within the first few months or within the first year?
Yeah, you know, I'm still in that exploration mode, but I'll tell you my goals align very closely with our strategic plan at Midwest Dairy. And so, again, I'll talk about increasing consumption, but what that looks like for me is double clicking into how do consumers want to receive their information today? How do we, pull some of those threads of the uncommon methods of reaching them that we maybe haven't considered in the past? And also, how do we better equip our farmers to use their superpowers? And when I talk about their superpowers, I'm talking about their voice. One thing we do know about consumers as it relates to dairy is that they trust farmers, they want to hear from farmers, and they care very much about what's happening at the farm gate. So farmers have this incredible superpower to influence and impact in a way that I think we sometimes forget. And so what you're going to see me do over the course of the next year is work to amplify that superpower and the farmer voice, as well as dig into some of those alternative pathways of reaching consumers that we maybe haven't thought about historically as much, like, leveraging influencers, for example.
Congratulations on assuming the role, and looking forward to visiting with you more in the future, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it, Chad. Thanks for having me.
Again, we've been visiting with Corey Scott. She is the new CEO of Midwest Dairy. I took that job earlier this year, and certainly great to visit with her here today. That is today's Nebraska Dairy Update. Chad Moyer reporting.